Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and I am so excited to be here. We are going to have an awesome time tonight, okay? I want to start with a story, but before I do, I just want to tell you guys that sometimes you go and you hear a lot of inspiration. It's like, oh, wow, and then a week later someone says, oh, what did you learn? And like, tonight, okay, tonight we're going to learn that personal growth is a combination of inspiration, which hopefully we'll be able to do tonight, a lot of eights, there's a lot of information, plus actions, which I'm going to give you, and then a week later you'll remember it all, okay? Deal? Okay? We're good? Okay. So I want to start with a story. There is the governor of Texas was driving down the freeway with his wife, and him, they were taking this long lost, needed vacation. And they're driving down, and they have, do they have Cadillacs around here? You know those big stretch things? Okay, right. With the big cowboy hat, right? He's driving along, whatever. And he sees that the needle of the gasoline is going down. So he pull off the driveway to get into the gas station, and he pulls up, and the guy comes around for full service, and he says, yeah, I need oil, or what do you need? Yeah, fill it up with whatever. So fine. So the guy goes. Now his wife, who's sitting next to him, she begins examining her shoes, and she's picking at the lint on the floor, on the carpet, down in front of her. She does not look up the entire time they are at the gas station. They pull back up on the freeway, with a full tank, and the governor says to her, can I just say something? Back there, you were engaged before we got married, right? She goes, yeah, we talked about it. And he said, that guy who was out here in Podunk, Texas, in the middle of nowhere, that was your former fiance, wasn't it? And she says, wow, how did you guess that? That's absolutely amazing, and you're absolutely spot on. And he said, and let me guess you something else. You were sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, if I had married that man, I would now be the wife of a gasoline attendant in Podunk, Texas. Isn't that what you're thinking, dear? And she said, no, actually not. I was thinking that if I had married him, he would now be the governor of Texas. So tonight I'm going to teach you the secrets and the tricks to have, we build our husband. I know there's a lot of single people here, and I'm going to include you in this thing, but here's what you want. When you're single and before you get married, everyone says, I wish I knew this before I got married. So you're here and you will know this all before you get married, okay? So it's very good, but I'm going to be hardcore. I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm not going to candy coat it and say, oh, there's some real issues, and you're going to hear from the women who are going to say, it's really hard, we have conflicts, and the people who are not married get to, that's them, I'm never going to have a conflict, are you joking? So I'm just prepare yourself, strap your seatbelts on, because you're going to hear some real stuff. Now, how tonight's going to go is I'm going to give the whole information, but equally important to that is it's a Q&A. So can I just borrow your index card here? So I gave you 2 index cards. I thought maybe you wanted one for notes, although I'm going to talk so much you're going to need like 7 of these. Anyway, no. So everybody's going to get the opportunity to fill out an index card with a question at the end. So I'm going to give the shear. It's going to be maybe about 50 minutes or so. Okay, very fun. Okay. And then at the end, if you have to leave and you have to go into babysitters, I totally understand. But everybody else who wants the most exciting part of this year, stay for the next time. I'm over there. It's going to be all to be good. But at the end, I'm going to answer them. And I do have, it's very sneeze. I read the question first. I have the Hadracha from the Rebbe in Tema Kamenetsky, Shalom, Rav Shmuel's wife, on how to do this. So it's perfectly sneeze. And people can ask questions about their husbands and about marriage. Anything goes. I'll be able to sit what I can say and how to do that. Okay, fine. Okay, so I'm going to start, and I want to point out something, and this is whether you're single or you're married. I'm going to say something that's going to absolutely shock you. What's the grocery store around here, the market?
Aaron's.
Aaron's? Okay.
Aaron's Farm.
What is it?
Aaron's Farm.
Can I call it Aaron's? Yeah. I never remember what it is. Okay, so you go into Aaron's, okay, and you see the first Jewish woman that you find, right? And you go up to her and you say, can I ask you a favor? Can you tell me something? What is our Masorah? What is our tradition for kashrus. And she'll say, oh, you need milk, you need meat, you need, you shouldn't use this hechsher, that hechsher you for sure can use. You know, she'll 2 hours, she'll talk your ear off. Now you ask her, what is our Masorah for Shabbos? And she'll say, oh, you need candles, you need challah, challah. She'll talk your ear off for 2 hours because she knows everything. There's every person in this room could tell me if I have a hot meat fork and I stick in a hot cheese thing, you know, you have to kosher it. Everybody knows the laws of kashrus. They know the laws of Shabbos. Now you ask this woman, what's in Aaron's kasita, whatever. Okay. You walk into Aaron's, okay? You walk into Aaron's and you ask the woman, can you do me a favor? Can you tell me what is our Masorah? What is our Masorah for Shalom Bayis? She's going to be like, I gotta go, bye, see you later. She will not know the answer. I spoke with Dirshu, there were 500 people in the woman. I said, does anyone want to come up and tell us what the Masorah for Shalom Bayis is? They're looking at their shoes like the governor's wife. They're just looking down. But here's the problem. How many boxes of tissue? Do you have enough boxes of tissue for every person? We should all be crying about this. This is the sad, get your tissues out, really. This is the saddest thing you've ever heard. We know kashrus, we know Shabbos like the back of our hand, and yet, Shalom Bayis, which is the single most important thing for our happiness. The single most important thing for our happiness, and we don't know the answer to a simple, what's our Masorah for Shalom Bayis? So, right, everyone should be like, oh my gosh, yeah, pass the tissues. So the question is, where did our Masorah go? I don't know. My husband and I made the decision about a decade ago, 12 years ago. We made the decision, like, okay, if we're on our, God forbid, after 120, we're on our deathbed and we're looking back at our life and we're saying, okay, what did we do with our life? If you had time and energy and purpose and finances to be able to support something, what can we do so that at 120 we can look at each other and say, here's the legacy we left in our lifetime. We're trying to think, okay, what can we do? Well, we could save the whales. There's a three-legged beetle over there. There's a lot of different things you could put your life to. What's going to make the biggest difference on the planet Earth? If we start a Shalom Bayis organization, a nonprofit organization, and we get the Shalom Bayis Masorah back into every person's hands with nobody left out. I'm going to say it again, in case you didn't hear. Every one of you should know the Shalom Bayis. Look, I've got 15 minutes with you, an hour with you guys, right? And then we'll do questions. But what can I do? How much information? Standing on one foot, like exactly. Really? What am I going to teach? But what I can do is I can instill in you and set you on fire inside that I am going to learn our Masorah for Shalom Bayis. I don't care what it takes. She's right. I want to know this. Not just because Hashem wants it. It's the single most important thing to Hashem. But I want to know it because it's the key to the ultimate happiness in my life. It's the key to, you want your kid to do well in school. You want your car to work. The way to bring bracha into a person's home, and this for you single people, Rav Shmuel told me that you need to go around doing as much shalom as you possibly can. Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky from Philadelphia. And he said, do as much mitzvahs as you can and create as much shalom as you can. But the issue is, if I can instill in each one of you a desire to learn our Masorah, that's it I can do in this time. And then the rest is up to you. And I'm going to provide you with lots of opportunities. I don't care what book you read on it. I have Marriage Secrets. Okay, there's 220 Torah sources in here. I got to tell you guys, I'm a full-time volunteer. So when you buy this book, I get $2.23 of royalties, and 100% of it, all my income from all my lecture fees, from everything I do, and then some, goes for Shalom Bayis education. So if I push this book on you all I want, because I don't really need your $2.23, it's going to mean it anyhow. But what I'm going to show you tonight, I'm going to show you practical tools, and I don't care what Shalom Bayis book you read, to get yourself educated. And we have, if you take a look at your, and I'm going to start with the curriculum in a second, but I just want you to see this. This one is for you to take home. Okay, this is for you. And you can write notes on the back of that one. This one you're turning in. We've got a beautiful raffle here with tote bags and all these cute little things and cups.
Anyone who doesn't have.
If there's anyone, yeah. And so on this, I'm just going to give you the action plan before you hear even what this is all about, because I want you to be able to understand actions is what is going to make the difference between whether you're on this ship, right? And you can jump ship and you can go here and go working towards Shalom Bayis. So the first one is I'm giving a free emotional intimacy masterclass on September 4th. Don't write on that on the pink one, because the pink one, we should have printed it on this, but anyway, or on the blue one. September 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th for Elul, a whole class on emotional intimacy. Number 2 is Marriage Secrets Foundation course. That's a 13-week program that is, again, it cost me $400 to put someone through it in terms of staff time. I've got 18 people on staff. We charge $89 for it. You know what I'm saying? Like someone said to me today, so you're losing $311 every time someone signs up. Yes, this is, if you know the Masorah, you're going to teach it to your friend, and we're going to make a difference and make a dent in being able to have a Klal Yisrael that has the Shalom Bayis Masorah. Number 3 is Marriage Secrets Coach Training Program. I'm just going to spend a second on this, and I'm not going to mention any of the other ones. You can just tick off on that box because you're going to turn those in for the raffle. But about 10 years ago, somebody said to me, Leah, if you go around teaching the Shalom Bayis Masorah, you have much more success if you taught teachers to teach it. You know what I mean? Like, why? You're one person, you'll make yourself crazy with it. So, and I was always, how do you interview somebody for your Shemayim? So my board said to me, you've got to, what did Rav Shmuel say about this? And I said, I never asked him. So I called him up, and he said, that's not your job. Your job is to teach the Masorah as best as you can, and leave the rest up to Hashem. So a year and a half ago, I've trained now 23 and 23, so 46 coaches. One's in Brazil, she's teaching a whole class with 14 women come every week. One's in Chicago, she just did a Zoom class with 100 people. One's teaching in Israel, 4 in Israel, 3 in London, 2 in South Africa. Where else do I have? New Jersey, Lakewood. I've got them all. Right now, I've got 46 trained people who know the Shalom Bayis Masorah better than anyone on the planet Earth. For reals. It's a PhD in Shalom Bayis. So if you see that, like, I would love to learn it so well. I'd like the Parnassa to, they're making $50, $75, $800 an hour, whatever. But here's the last point I'm going to say about this. Klal Yisrael is desperate for Shalom Bayis teachers. We are in a Shalom Bayis crisis right now. It's from the Gedolin. That's not my interpretation. We're in a Shalom Bayis crisis. You are desperately needed. This isn't something you can sit out. You have to push yourself to think if you can do it. And I will train you. It's been personal training with me for about 4 or 5 months. Okay, let's get in. I want to tell you one last thing about Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky. As I said to him, is everyone familiar? Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky is in the Rosh Yeshiva of Philadelphia. And I flew to Philly, and I said, I believe that the avoda, the work of our generation, is Shalom Bayis. And he said, Mrs. Richeimer, what exactly is your source for this? And I said, well, I was kind of hoping that the Rosh Yeshiva would be my source for this. I was like, he's laughing. And I said, really, people are running after sneeze. They're running after Lashon Hara. They're running after kids off the derech and internet addictions and all these things. Perhaps if we were to focus on Shalom Bayis, all of the problems in Klal Yisrael would diminish or disappear. And he said, Mrs. Richeimer, you need to teach this to as many people our Masorah to as many people as possible. One candle should light many candles. And guess what, you guys? Guess who the candles are? Okay? You're the candles. So, Meretz Hashem, together. If everyone in this room, if we made this decision, let's make Shalom Bayis the number 1 priority of Klal Yisrael, we could make it happen. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay. We're going to go right into 5 things you wish you knew before you got married. The 5 things. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'ekol nebivarach. Ooh, it's a spot. Now, before I give you, the family members in here, so I give you a hard Thanks for coming. My nieces are all here. All the sisters. Yeah, okay. So before I give you the 5 secrets, I have to tell you that there are 4 lies. Do people know what it means by a bill of goods? We've been sold a bill of goods. How do you explain that? No, a bill of goods. We've been lied to or whatever. There's 4 lies from the secular world. The whole secular world has conspired against us to propagate these 4 lies. And before I explain to you what our Shalom Bayis Masorah is, right? You still want to be standing on one foot explaining the Shalom Bayis Masorah. Before I do that, I have to tell you what the 4 lies are. So I made it very easy for you. Lies. L-I-E-S. Lies. Okay, so the first one is L, and that is the lie of later. That you will be happy later. And that, when you get the house that you want, when your husband gets the job he wants, when your kid behaves the way you want him to behave, when you get the dress you want, when, not even material things, when your husband stops putting you down, whatever it is, that later you'll be happy. And that's how that's how they get us to buy things. Because if you buy this, you're waiting, when that package comes from Amazon, then I'll be happy. But you have to understand, this is a lie of later. It's very good for the economy, but it's miserable for a person's menuchas nefesh, their peace of mind in their heart. And the way we know from Chazaq, is that we are exactly where we need to be exactly now. There's no some future that we're supposed to be, that's how the whole world is about later. It's the lie of later. And our job is to concentrate and be focused and to savor where we are right now. That's what Chazal are teaching us. Okay, the next one is the lie of images. It starts with I, L-I-E-S. The lie of images, that you will be happy when your life looks like a fairy tale. So we all have been influenced by this whole thing of, what is it, the knight in shining armor, right? Right. What color horse does he have?
White.
Thank you, right? We all know this knight in shining armor, and he whisks us off our feet, and he takes us away, and whatever. And so now we compare our whole life to, we don't have that guy. So when I used to work with singles for many decades, I don't do it anymore for the last 12 years. I've just focused on Shalom Bayis. But when I used to work with singles, I could speak with a woman, a girl at that point, whatever woman, and I could talk to her, and within about 3 to 5 minutes, I could tell whether she read romance novels or not, just by what her expectations were, what her blown out of her mind, things. Oh, he's going to be this and like that. So we've been sold a lie of images that puts us in a spot that we are always comparing the husband who's right in front of us with our image of this book we read or this movie we saw or this, you look at somebody else's husband. Oh, I wish my husband was more like that. Well, behind closed doors, he's whatever. I was going to say, he does. He leaves his socks on the pillow. Whatever. Behind the scenes, you can just imagine what it's looking like. So, but we get ourselves caught up in these images. It's very, very prevalent. And as soon as we know that there's a lie of images, it gives us the opportunity to move on the other side of it. Okay, the next. Oh no, you didn't hand any eggs out, right? No, nobody has eggs. Promise? No one's going to throw eggs at me. No. Promise. Okay, the next one's E, right? Lies. E. This is the lie of equality. We have been sold a bill of goods that if our relationship is equal, and he does one diaper and I do the next diaper, and I do the dishes and he does it, he dries them, and whatever. We've been sold the bill of goods that equality is where our happiness lies. And don't get me wrong, I'm not equality in the workplace. I think as a nation, we should be embarrassed that a woman makes 67 cents on the install for the same work. 67, I will fight for that. I'll stand up and say, this is wrong. It's the wrong measure for the house. Equality is the wrong measure for the house. In a household, the measure is shalom. So we've been sold a bill of goods for the equality, and I'll tell you one last statistic about that. Oh, I'm sorry, keep picking your toes. Are you okay? Very sweet. One last statistic about this. A study came out, I think it was about 2.5 years ago. Was it before COVID? I don't remember. Anyway, it was out of Denmark, and they did a study of couples who have the most amount of equality in their tit for tat. He does this, he does that. She does this, she does that. Like that. The most amount of quality and the least amount of quality, and they put them on all these charts and graphs and whatever, and it turns out that the ones that have the highest equality in the marriage have double the divorce rate as anybody else. Double. So that ain't the direction we need to be heading. Okay, the last one for the S is the lie of stuff. The lie of stuff, that getting what you want will make you happy. This is like the whole, advertising industry, marketing, whatever, that if you get that, then you're going to be happy. Buy this car, you're going to be happy. Have that stroller, you'll be happy. Whatever, the lie of stuff. And I want to just, if you have a husband and a wife, and the husband is doing whatever he can to try and get what he wants from his wife, and the wife is trying to get whatever she can from her husband, you end up with a get. Okay? So, what is the core of happiness? What is the deep, deep thing of happiness? It's giving. So, I want that, and that's the Jewish, that's the yid. The Jewish whole belt is you gotta get, you gotta get, you gotta get. And the Jewish way is giving. So I just want to, who likes to shop? You like to shop? Okay. So what's your favorite color? Pink. Pink? Okay. I could have guessed. What's your name?
Ella.
Ella? Okay. So Ella, you're walking down. What's the clothing shop around here? Macy's. Okay. Macy's? Okay. So Ella's coming in, and she goes, and she's walking by Macy's, and she's going on her way, and she looks in the window, and there's a pink sweater. It's mohair, okay? It's got like fur around, the pink fur around. It's got pearls. Pearls. It's the most gorgeous sweater she has ever seen since the day she's born. She walks in, it's hanging in the window, but she walks into Macy's, and she goes to the lady, "That's coming home with me." So the lady goes, and she takes down the sweater, and she puts it on Ella, and Ella is standing in front of the window and the mirror or whatever, and she's looking, she's like, "This is absolutely gorgeous," and she's looking for the price, like she can't find it. She calls the lady over, "Excuse me, how much is this sweater?" And the lady said, "Oh, it's on sale, it's only $4,300. And she quickly, she's like, $4,300. I mean, I don't know how you guys shop around here, but in my book, okay, so fine. So she takes it off. She hands it back to the sales lady, and Ella, she's really very, very sad about this. And every day she's walking by and she sees it hanging in the window, and she's like, every day walking by, so she's slumped over. One day, she sees this huge sign like this, and it says, "Massive, huge sale, everything goes." And she's like, "Huh?" So she goes in, whatever, she looks on this rack, nothing. Looks on that rack, nothing. Lo and behold, behind, tucked away and whatever, is Ella's pink sweater. And she pulls it out, and she kind of looks at the price tag like this to see what it's really at. $37. She's ecstatic. She puts it on. She got exactly what she wanted. Minusha Mayim, how did that happen? It's her size, nobody else bought it. Gewaldig. So she comes out and she's waiting on do they have Uber? Everyone uses Uber here or whatever? So she's waiting she calls it for Uber. She's standing in her sweater and she's like seeing if everybody's noticing how beautiful her sweater is. She feels like $1 million, whatever. And there's a park bench here and there's a lady sitting on the what is it called? Bus stop park bench, whatever. And she's sitting there, and right next to her is this little girl. And the little girl is sitting there, and the little girl has a sundress on, it's middle winter, sundress on, bare feet, and she's shivering. She's absolutely freezing. And she's sitting there, and she looks very sad and very forlorn. And Ella looks over at her, "Where's my Uber? Where's my Uber?" And she looks back at the girl. She unbuttons her buttons. She takes her sweater. She goes to the little girl, and she puts the sweater on her. And the girl grabs her legs and holds her very tight and looks at tears just streaming down her face. She says, "Thank you, Mrs. Thank you." And the mother or whatever's looking at her like, "I don't know how to thank you." And then Ella's Uber comes and she gets into the Uber. So the question is, what is going to stay with her the rest of her life? Getting the sweater So these lies have swept us away, and when we shift into the mindset of a Yid, now you're ready to hear the Masorah, because tonight, you know how I said, we know Shabbos, we know Kashrus, whatever. Tonight you're going to learn the entire Masorah in one night, okay? And the 5 things are the Masorah, and of course it has to spell something really special and really meaningful. Geula. And if you memorize the word Geula, which is easy to remember, if you remember Geula, I'm going to go through each of them, Geula, and I'm going to teach you, and by the end of that, you will be able to know the entire Masorah. And then, please God, you'll go on to learn more, but that's going to be our start. Okay, nobody can see this, right? Where can I put this where you can see it? Is that better? Kind of in the middle? Okay, fine. Okay, so the first one, and it's going to be different than you think. The first one is grateful. See, I do this old world because if I did a screen, you know it's going to break. This is going to be good enough. Okay. Grateful. Okay, this is going to be shocking news. The shocking news is that, and actually, if I had to stand on one foot and say what are, when you do, if you're standing there in the grocery store and someone asks you what kind of store for Shalom Bayis, the answer is the husband is the giver and the wife is the receiver. The husband is the giver and the wife is the receiver. This is news to many, many women. They think they're doing all day long. So I'm going to explain. Rav Moshe Cordovero goes over that all bracha comes from Shemayim, through our husband, and to us. So I went to Rav Asher Weiss and said, wait a minute. You explain to me. You were telling me that we have a woman. She wakes up in the morning. She says the whole book of Tehillim. She goes and gives food to the lady down the street. There's an almana up the street. She goes and visits her for 2 hours. She's carpooling her kids back and forth, doing diapers all day. She's accruing all these mitzvahs that she's doing. And you're saying she's not bringing bracha into the house? Like, no, I don't get that. Like, hello? And he said, Mrs. Richeimer, it is correct. She can merit a lot of bracha. She can earn a lot of bracha. And it goes up into Shemayim, and it sits and waits for her. But the one and only way that it can come into her home is through her husband. No eggs. Hey, look at that. The only way it can come into the home is through the husband. And I'm going to give you such a simple tool to get more bracha into your home. About bracha, what do I mean by bracha? Parnasa and refuah, health, happiness, joy. Your dishwasher breaks. Your car doesn't break down. The food doesn't burn. We all need more bracha. We all want more bracha. That's what we're here for, is get as much bracha, bring as much bracha into our home. Who doesn't need more bracha? A $37 sweater. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is bracha. So how do we access all that? If that bracha is up in Shemayim, right? How do we get it to us? So, again, I'm really, all I do 24/7 is I'm a receiver teacher, right? The husband's the giver, the wife is the receiver. And it turns out, the bigger the receiver the wife is, what happens? The more the husbands give, okay? So it's like, when it was the men's class, right? So the emes is, the men's class, he doesn't need, first of all, they're not lining up, there's no, you're not having to line. So, but if a woman becomes a bigger receiver, the man becomes a bigger giver. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm a receiver, right? And could Hashem fill this amount of it's like my challah bowl, basically. Could Hashem fill that amount of bracha? Of course. Could he fill a bathtub? Of course. Could Hashem fill a swimming pool full of bracha? Absolutely. Here's what I'm about to tell you. Hashem can fill an ocean of bracha if you are the size of a receiver that is the size of an ocean. And you have to realize how powerful this is. Because since Adam and Chava walked the face of the earth, right? A few years back, before I was born, you may not know that. Adam and Chava, when they walked the earth, Hashem has provided you, exactly you. I'm going to need you. He's given a whole storehouse of bracha. You guys have Costco here? Okay. So just imagine shelf after shelf after shelf. And imagine Costco. Every row is completely filled with bracha for you, and it's 1,000 times bigger than Costco. That's what Hashem has in store for you. And your only limitation of how much bracha you can have is you're being able to receive it. So how do you receive it? Ready? Okay, now I start $10 the way that you get access to that bracha is so yum and easy and simple and delicious. All you do is say thank you. That's it. And you say different kinds of things. You say, thank you so much for this water. Or this water is so gewaldig, it's so delicious. That's also a thank you. Or, oh, I was so in need of this water, you can't believe it. The more you thank your husband, this is not Leah Richeimer's good idea. This is our 3,000-year-old track record, bulletproof plan for bringing more bracha into your home. And it's guaranteed, Hear that? Guaranteed. It is guaranteed. It will work. You try this at home. It is guaranteed. Not by me, by Hashem. This is what Chazaq teaches. And by the way, I have so many thousands of people come through my classes, and they're all like, "What did you secretly take my husband aside and teach him a whole secret course that I don't know about his husband? When he is thanked and when he's appreciated, he just pours. He just wants to give more." There is nothing more important and more valuable to your husband. I know some of you will say this is true, than to make you happy. That's what he wants more than anything in the world. And it's sometimes hard to see that. A lot of resentments. He said this mean thing. Like, how am I going to thank him? He did this and he did that. And he told my mother-in-law that my sister's a better cook. And, all these things that have gone on and under the table. And he won't listen to me when I've told him 400 times, keep the door closed, keep the door closed. And every time I walk by, I tell him, you really want me to show appreciation? And the issue is with the Masorah is unfair, but the woman goes first. Women's like to me. Because I say, Rav Moshe Cordovero says all bracha comes from, the Rambam says you need to respect your husband exceedingly, right? The woman says, and he respects me. Then I'll respect him. And I'm not, you're right, I get it. I'm sorry it has to be this way, but if you just want to know the number one way to get him to respect you, respect him. And it's guaranteed, and it works, and it's gewaldig, and you guys are going to go home tonight and you'll be like, such a game changer. Okay, so we have grateful, that's grateful. Let's go to the next one. Empowering. This one also is a little bit difficult because we have been sold a bill of goods, we've been lied to that we need, is everything okay? Yeah. We've been sold a bill of goods that women need control. That we should be in charge of our kids, in charge of our staff, in charge of our household, that everything should be controlled and micromanaged and everything should be in place, especially our husband, who definitely needs to be controlled because he doesn't even know how to do a diaper. I mean, come on, So we need to control everything, and we've been sold by the whole wide world says, you need to be in control. Here's the problem. There's something far, far more important and more deep in a woman's neshama, in her heart, that she needs far more than control, and that is connection and closeness. And if a woman gets that connection and closeness, she could care less. I had this woman, she's a doctor, and she had this tension in her neck, like all the time. And she was bought gadgets or whatever. She went to PT and OT and rheumatologist and this and physical therapist, and she went everywhere to try and get rid of the, for literally for like 6 years. To chiropractor, what else? And all the things, trying to get rid of it. So I had this very intensive class I was teaching, and she was in it. And I told her, I told the woman, you're going to spend the week saying, whatever you say, dear, fine, good, no problem, dear, and let him do whatever he wants about everything. Right? She was like panic stricken. She was walking out, she was white as a ghost. Most of the women, white as a ghost when they went out of there, okay? She came back the next week, and I said, does anyone want to share about the homework with you? Raise your hand. And she said, I have had tension in my shoulders for 7 years. Leah, it's gone. It's gone. Micromanaging every little thing he did. And does anyone's husband set the table? Like, look, the fork? How many times? The fork is on that side! That side! The fork does not belong in the middle of the table! And that's bullshit! We're gonna measure! Okay, fine. Okay, so, but we're so micromanaging, right? We're so much, every little detail. And we think, right? Look, I get it. You guys are smarter, and your way is the correct, right way. I'm sold. You know what I'm saying? I get it. But the issue is letting go, especially about the stupid things. So here's the most beautiful thing about what I'm teaching you right now. This is the most gorgeous thing. If you let go of control. Now, let's say your husband, I'm going to go out and buy that Ford Escort. I know nothing about cars, so if I say an insult about a car, just ignore it. So, I'm going to buy the Ford Escort. And you're like, no, the Prius has much better mileage, and right? And you're having a fit, right? And I looked it up on Google, and here's 17 pages of documentation to prove that I'm right, Who cares? But here's the thing. It's not going to have bracha. So now you're going to have the first. He's going to, let's say he ends up buying the Prius, it's going to be the first lemon Prius, okay? And if he had bought the Escort and you just mavater and let him buy the Escort, it's going to have bracha, and it's going to be the first Ford Escort to go 400,000 miles without an oil change, okay? And this is what the power of Hashem. So what happens here, if you were to say to your husband, okay, you want to buy the Ford Escort? Oh, okay, fine, that's good. I had some information on the Prius if you wanted to hear it. Okay, fine, we'll buy the Ford. Oh, you do want to hear it? Okay, here's the information. Now, if you give up control, we have Baba Ben Buta said that if you mavater to your husband and you listen to your husband, and besides it being blessed, he will bend his ear and listen to you. So instead of saying, you're saying, oh my gosh, if I let him have his way and I let him have the control, he's going to send the kids to that school, to that camp, that they're going to be bullied the whole year. The whole summer they're going to be bullied at that camp. He's so wrong. But if you mavater, and this is Rebbetzin Kolodetsky, do you know who this is? Refaim Kanievsky's daughter, and I went to see her this last, a few months ago, November. And she said, if you mavater, you will never lose. And here's the thing. The more a woman lets go of control, the more influence she has over her husband. Meaning he'll listen, oh, you think we should do the Prius? Well, why do you think so? And you think, what are the details? Do you mind if I like the Ford Escort? It comes in turquoise, and I like turquoise. Whatever it is. If you let go of control and let your husband have the control, men need control like oxygen. A man who doesn't have control in his own house feels like, people always ask me, my husband has such parnasa issues, I want to get more parnasa in the house. I'm like, does he have the control, or if he doesn't? Because if a man has control, he will bring more parnasa in. This is the Chazaq. This isn't Leah Richeimer's cute, sweet little idea. This is actual fact. Okay, fine. That is empowering. Now,
so you
yeah.
Have connection to Hashem, more connection to Hashem, not to the husband.
More connection to Hashem. If what?
You said empowering means.
Empowering means empowering your husband.
Right. And when you said you have to have more connection, you mean have more connection to Hashem, meaning like.
No. A man needs control like he needs oxygen, And a woman needs connection to her husband more than anything in the world. More than, and now some people deny it and fight with it and fight their own desires. Maybe their husband isn't there for them, so they say, "Oh, I don't need him." We just are roommates, God forbid. And the point, the thing we know from Chazal is that a woman yearns for her husband and she yearns for her approval. Look, I started. I don't know if anyone knows my story. I started as a stockbroker, power broker, whatever, on the World Trade Center floor trading commodities. For me to say, "Oh, yeah, I really need my husband," it made me feel like a wimp and an idiot. But I'm telling you right now, a woman needs her husband. And it's very hard to get in this day and age, in the Western society, whatever, to get in touch with that deep need that we all have. And people deny it, we deny it, and it's hard. But once you embrace that, then he can do something and you can get in touch with your feelings and say, I really was hoping to get some positive reinforcement, not criticism on that, but whatever. And they say, oh, I'm sorry. So it's understanding your own needs. Okay, the next one is understanding. So, okay. Now let's just say I have, what are those spiral thingies, notebook thingies, but they're huge, big fat ones. What is it? The binder, it's called something. It's like a 5. That's it. So yeah. What is it? 5-star notebook. 5-subject note. Yeah, these big fat things, right? Like the 400, like this fat thing. Okay, so let's just say I have them in pretty colors. The pink one, of course, and the turquoise, purple, green, whatever. Everybody has a notebook. Okay? And you start doing it and say, okay, guys, here's the assignment. I want you to fill out everything that you want from your husband. And you're like, everything? Everything? I'm like, everything. So you're like, okay, so I want a new shaitel, I want a Tesla, I want to go to Bahamas, I want him to stop putting me down in front of my mother-in-law, I want him to, like that. You're writing everything down that you want. Everything. Okay. Now, got, actually some people after a few minutes will say, oh, God, excuse me, Leah, excuse me, can I have another notebook? And when you think about it, though, it's like our wants, this poor guy. This poor guy, he can never make him happy. He can't make us happy. And, if you guys were all men and I was a man and I said, okay, raise your hand if your wife is happy with you. And I'll be like, oh my gosh. It's so sad. All he wants to do is make us happy, and he never can, because we have a million wants, and they change like the weather. Now, let's say, can I borrow your index card? You have here. Sorry. You got, okay, good, thank you. Now, let's say we finish the want exercise. Everybody does the wants. They've got these big, they're sitting on them. They're like 5 stacks high. And now I hand everybody an index card. And I say, okay, ladies, I want you to write down your needs. What you need from your husband. Everyone would be like, can I tune it in later? And yeah, later. No, this would take hours to even begin to figure out what your needs are. So here's the big question I have for you. Because all the wives complain to me that their husband doesn't meet their needs. The question is, how can your husband meet your needs if you don't even know what your needs are? We don't know what our needs are. And so what we do is we throw all the wants in the world at him. We keep throwing, I want this, I want that. No, get the diaper, not that diaper, but the one on top, no behind, no underneath, do a somersault, let's get it. We are making him jump through every hurdle and everything we possibly can to get our wants met because our needs aren't being met. And the only way, and I'm going to do this standing on one foot, this is a very powerful exercise. I have a whole section in Marriage Secrets about how to do this because it's really, really crucial. For those of you who are single, I'm begging you, do this for your marriage, for what you're looking for in a husband. Because everybody has a list of wants they want from their husband. They don't know what they need, so they go on date after date, and they want him to be handsome and gorgeous, but what they need is somebody who's stable. So until you figure out what your needs are, it's very, very hard to find a husband that's actually going to match you. He's not in the head, but it's endless. And I have Chazaq Secrets for you guys. Chazaq Secrets is a book on gaining clarity. Again, all the royalties go to things like I can push it all I want. All of the shit up secrets tells you how to do your needs and your wants. But here's what you do. You take a fat notebook. It takes about 2 hours, but it's the most powerful exercise. And you write down everything you want, then you go through and you cross out your wants, and you circle things that you need. So if you crossed out, you might go, I don't really need the Bahamas. Trustworthy, I need that. I need to be trustworthy, whatever. You figure out your needs. Once you have those, you prioritize them, you get 2 or 3 of your top needs, and then you communicate them to your husband. You don't have to, some people do, some people don't. But at least you know. And then when he does this woman, one of my students, she had, every night she did homework, she had a deal with her husband after dinner. She did everything, grocery, this, getting the food, cooking the food, whatever, putting it on the table, setting the table, everything. His only job was to do the dishes after dinner. So dinner would finish, and he would say, oh, sorry, I'm going to learn English Shmuley. Then he would, afterwards, oh, I'm going to put Shalomit to bed. For 2 hours after, he would dodge and whatever, and every night there was tension in the home. When she did this exercise, she realized she had a panic disorder, which was, when all of a sudden, sometimes for explicit reasons, sometimes not, she'd get all nervous, like what's going to be, she'd have a little bit of a panic attack. It wasn't a horrible thing, but it was like in her stomach, it was nervous. And her husband, whenever she called him at work and said, I'm really feeling anxious right now, his answer was, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, don't worry about it, just go listen to some music, you'll be fine. Which made her feel very bereft, like, where's my husband? So she realized that is a much more important need of hers than getting the stupid dishes done. Aside from the fact, the attention it caused in her home. So she went to her husband, she said, I have a deal for you. You will never have to wash another dish if, yours cooked up, if anytime I'm starting to have an anxiety or a panic or whatever, you drop whatever you are doing. I don't care if you're in the middle of $1 million real estate act, the deal. I don't care whether you're, flying in the middle of an airplane, that you drop whatever you're doing and you're there for me. And you don't get off the phone until I say it's okay to get off the phone. You know what his answer was? That's it. Baruch Hashem. Knowing what our needs are is crucial. Not just us getting them met, which is crucial to our happiness, but giving finally our husband some satisfaction that he is meeting his obligations as a husband to you, that he's taking care of you. That's all what he wants to do more than anything in the world is take care of you. It may not feel like it, but once you start becoming more of a receiver, you will witness, you will watch your husband expand his ability to take care of you. Amir Hashem. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one is L for loyal. Okay, so this is actually, loyalty is actually a long lost art in the planet Earth. It's kind of like, it's funny because when I used to work with singles, almost nobody said loyalty, and it's possibly the thing that a husband needs more than anything in the world, and a wife needs from a husband's loyalty. So let me give you some examples of what loyalty is and what it isn't. So loyalty is that your husband knows that you have his back. Loyalty makes our husband makes our husband trust us and feel safe with us, like nothing else we do. So these are examples of disloyalty. Your daughter says to you, Daddy still hasn't fixed the light bulb in my closet. And you're like, yeah, he didn't fix the front door either. That's called disloyalty. Loyalty would be, Baruch Hashem, your daddy works so hard for us and he's very tired at night. That's called loyalty. Your coworker says to you, my husband leaves bags of chips all over the couch. And you say, yeah, my husband leaves half-eaten fruit on the counter. That's called disloyalty. Loyalty is, that must be very frustrating. You've done 2 things with that. Number 1, you've been loyal to your husband. Number 2, you've stopped her from telling you Lashon Hara. Number 3, your mother says, your husband should help you get the kids to bed. Disloyalty would be, I know, I wish he'd also help me clean up. Loyalty is, Mom, please don't put my husband down. Okay. So, showing loyalty. Praise your husband to your kids constantly. You cannot overdo it. A lot of mothers, and for those of you who praise your husband in front of your children. So look how good Tati is at giving his Devar Torah. Your father is the nicest man I have ever met. Look at the mitzvah Daddy did for us. It's so nice. He got us donuts for Shabbos. Praising him in front of the kids. There's a, this whole, unfortunately, off the derech kids. If you have young kids, I see mothers all the time, and they throw their husband under the bus. So their husband says, the kids say, can I have candy? Can I have candy? And the tati says, oh, sure, have whatever you like. And the mother comes in and she says, no. See, Billy, why did you, whatever the guy's name is, Plody, why did you say that? No, you can have one candy each, or whatever. And she just threw him under the bus, right? And now, when the kids become teenagers, their whole life they've heard the mother question his authority, not put him, either put him down or criticize him in front of him. Then when the mother needs the harshness and the strength of a husband during the kid's teenage years, which a woman doesn't have that same, wait till your father gets home, right? She's thrown him under the bus already. She spent 10 years throwing him under the bus, and then when the teenagers need him the most, there's nobody left. So I'm just giving you this forewarning. You're not even married, you have to realize that the more you build him up in front of the children, the stronger you are as a couple, and the more safety net you will have when the kids are in teenager years. Okay, so I just want to give a couple of things for showing loyalty. Praise your husband in front of your kids. Defend your husband, and if anyone ever says anything negative about him. Never raise your voice to your husband. This one's very, very crucial.
How are you supposed to do that nowadays?
How are you supposed to do
Everyone
it?
says that and it's hard.
Not to raise your voice? Yeah.
How are you supposed to do that?
When you're growing any habit, like how are you supposed to keep away from the cheesecake? It's kind of like, it's hard, right?
I mean like not minuscule kind of situations. I mean like big ones where, let's say, for example, I'm here now and my husband, let's say.
Wait, I don't we can't say Lashon Hara about her husband.
No, I'm saying that's a bit, if it would be like that.
Let's say yes, this is Lady Plony.
Okay, it should be at place A, if place B is the husband and he's at home with the children and it's already 9:30 and the kids are not fed, which you specifically said, feed the kids.
Right.
And it's already, and you feed the kids. I'm supposed to not raise your voice.
Even ice cream.
But you're not home.
So call him and say, please give me his ice cream.
Cereal, milk.
Okay.
Cereal, milk, macaroni and cheese. And when you're growing anything, what's behind it, this is Bacillus Sherm, okay, which is the pathways of the jest, which is how do you grow a character trait? How do you grow yourself to be a better person? Everybody here in this room is here wherever they are, right? And then we're here, we're learning the discern, we want to grow. Are you going up or are you going down, right? So in order to grow, we all want to grow, regardless of Leah, that's the Jewish way, right? If you want to grow, Bacillus Sherm says, first you build it in yourself, the motivation, the ratzon, the desire to grow in that way. And then you read and do all the hishtadlus you can about, you read a book on how to control your anger, how when you're really mad and your husband maybe makes you mad, maybe he always is pushing your buttons and triggering you and whatever like that, okay? How to deal with that. You talk with a therapist, you go to a therapist, you talk to, you read books about how to do it, right? So you get your motivation inside, then you get the information, and then, very, very powerful, is to think about the cost of not doing that. So people think, well, I yelled because he deserved it, and that's what there's my parents, and actually when I yelled at him, that's what he did it. He listened to what I said, right? And when he listens to what that it's an effective method. So why shouldn't I yell? If a person doesn't understand that it makes a husband feel unsafe in his own home, right? That he doesn't feel safe in his own home. If a person gets in touch with that, it will be very motivating to slow them down. Something to pick your battles. Don't try and do everything in one day. And call it a vote for you for even thinking about it and wanting to work on it for everybody. But one step at a time. I'm going to give you a few ACs. We'll get it. But I want to tell you this one story. So here's the thing, you're married to this man, and he's sitting across from him at the table, and this is how he shoots. Every grain of food that's in the mouth. And you're like, would you stop with it? I'm so sick of waiting. I want to know everything you ate for the last week. What are you doing? And please close your mouth, close your mouth. By the way, the hack for this is just sit right next to him. He's not the hack. But, okay, so you just have to go on pretending. Now, we're talking about loyalty right now. And you are sitting at the table. It's a long table, everybody's sitting around, and your parents over here, his parents over there, and on the other side, you have all the aunties and everything like that. And you're sitting there and you're eating dinner, and your husband's like, okay? And your aunt is sitting right across from him, and she says, that's disgusting! Would you shut your mouth? Do you realize how disgusting it looks from this side of the table? I can't believe it! You poured it apart! Here's what a loyal wife will do. Well, Auntie, I actually asked my husband to please chew his mouth. I see what he eats. And, I count how many times he's chewing each time. Inside, you're right there. Yes! This is what a loyal wife will do. Okay, you can tone it down. You could say, Auntie, please don't put my husband down. But now, question for you. Question for you. You have said, the words came out of your mouth, I request from Auntie, I'd like when you choose what is not open. How's your husband feeling right now? Right? How's he feeling? She's got my back. It's the closest, it's the thing, men, I'm telling you, you are all, if you do this, you all get shout flowers.
So you're saying when he does like chew with
Chew the mouth
and
open,
then you stick up, you'll be loyal to him, but
Then he'll
tell him
still chew.
afterwards, see, I told you not to eat that way?
No. Listen, if he's chewing with his mouth, look, everybody has habits, except me. I've heard a lot of other people have habits. But whatever he's doing, just guaranteed, he's just being very sweet and kind about. I had a woman who told me that her, it's gross, but anyway, her husband was doing something that was really, really gross, on and on and on and on. And finally, after a lot of coaching and whatever, she went to talk to him about it. And she said, I mean, if I had a habit that you didn't like, I want you to tell me. And he said, oh, you would? You sure? Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm telling you. You've got this habit. Where he said, so you would want me to tell? And she said, I'd prefer if you brush your teeth. You got bad breath. And she said, what do you mean? You have bad breath? Oh my gosh, really? How long has this been going on? 14 years. And you never told her. Never said a word. So we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but we can all learn a little bit more tolerance. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay. Next one is A. The ula is A, which is attentive. Attentive. So here's the thing. Remember how we were talking about, what's our Masora? Well, I'm standing on one foot. The husband is and the wife is right. Okay. So, ladies, everybody knows the thing that if a woman has 9/10 of speech. Yeah, you heard that? If you use it on your husband, you'll kill it for you. Okay? Find friends, catch to everybody else, okay? But here's the thing, the key thing that is missing in marriage today, and that is a wife listening to her husband. A wife listening to her husband, letting him talk, letting him, what's going on with him, letting him share. And I have to tell you, women are like, are you joking? I'm like, how was your day? You're fine. What's new? Nothing. How did it go with your boss? Good. Hello, husband, talk. Are you crazy? How am I going to get him to talk? So what you need to do is you need to get a little pink notebook and you need to write 100 questions for your husband. I'll get you in a second. If I forget, remind me. 100 questions. Where did you go to camp? Why did you go to that camp? Why didn't you go to the other camp? Were you in baseball? Were you in, did you do color war? How come you chose the field of accounting? What's your vision for the future? Why didn't you go into the space program? How come you're not an astronaut? Whatever it is, you come up with 100 questions for your husband. Believe me, and I've taught this to a lot of women, and they come and they're like, I never realized that I can't shut him up. The thing is, if you've been married over 10 years, 15 years, or whatever, it might take like 3 months for him to unload because it's been holding it in for all these years. And he may, look, we need to vent a lot, but the more we listen to our husband and the more he shares with us, the more close he feels to us. And here's the other thing. And this is going to be hard for some people. Always laugh at every joke he makes. Every joke, I don't care how corny it is, how bad it is, you've heard it 14 times, okay, enough already with the refrigerators, looks like a frog, whatever it is, it makes no sense and isn't funny. Laugh at anything. You want to bring your husband to your heart? And I have women who just roll their eyes because their husband's making these horrible puns and they're just like, I'm done, I'm completely done, okay? But just know that every laugh that comes emanating out of your mouth is drawing you closer to God. So I want to tell a story about listening. This is actually a true story. This one of my students I was teaching at a 13-week actually foundations course. You guys are, hopefully some of you will come into that with me. And on the foundation course, so they had a homework assignment from 1 week to the next. They had to listen to their husband for 15 minutes. That was the homework assignment. So this woman, she walked out of class, all of that. So, but it was an high school class, and she knew I was going to call on her. She didn't do the homework. So she saw her husband sitting on the couch, and she had emails to do, and she had dishes in the dishwasher, and one of the kids still wasn't asleep, and she had a million things to do. She says, I'm doing the homework, I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to go and listen to my husband for 15 minutes. She sits on the couch, and she starts asking her husband about his work. He talked for 1 hour and 15 minutes. He's an accountant. She said, he's talking about inventory in July, and he changed to do it January, and now he's doing new inventory, which is really even more fascinating, right here? She said, I'm so bored to the Biden and whatever. So she said she stood up after an hour and 15 minutes, and she stands up, and she's sitting there, and she's like, that was the stupidest waste of time. Very paralyzed. And it did nothing. It didn't solve anything. Like, that was a waste of time. I can't wait to tell Leah what a waste of time it was. And she went into it. What?
That's how we feel when we're talking about.
Yeah. Our nail polish, like, what color is that? She walks into her kitchen after this big, boring conversation. She walks into the kitchen. And right next to the counter were all these stacks and stacks and stacks of water bottles that they'd gotten at Costco, and she'd been bugging for 2 weeks to put them into the garage. She walked into the kitchen, guess what? They moved into the garage. And then, the most remarkable, unbelievable part of the story, and this is a true story, she walked into the bathroom, and her husband had changed the toilet paper roll. So, the point of this whole thing is that if you listen, right? Your husband will take care of you. You listen and your husband will take care of you.
It's the opposite, like he talks nonstop.
Okay, fine. What if you've got the opposite problem and he talks nonstop and you can't get a word in?
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Like, I don't want to talk to you.
So you just put a tape recorder in and leave it. I hear that. That's a separate thing. It's for something like that. It's adorable though, and your Kalka votes for you for listening. It means he feels close to you. So if you can't get in a word in edgewood, say in a private time, we're not going to have time to get to it. I'm just going to stand on one foot to give you the communication. Right? Ready? Yeah. Communication. H-O-T. Just remember these things. H is talk. Right. H is how you're going to say it. O is the outcome desired in the communication, and T is timing. That's those. If you know remember those. If you're in somebody and you're having a hard time communicating, whatever, think, how am I going to say this to them? outcome? Am I like trying to win the argument, or am I really trying to get closer to them? T, timing. But you know what? I'm not going to bring this up to my husband right now. So while he's giving you blah, 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 wrong timing. At a separate timing, when you're both well fed, well rested, well, eaten, and you're both good, and you can have a conversation, cell phones away, you say, I want to talk to you about something, I don't make a big deal out of it, but, sometimes I find that I have a lot to tell you, and I'm so fascinated by everything you're saying. Fascinated. You're the most interesting man I ever met in my life. That's all your jokes, okay? By the way, don't tell your husband anything I've taught you today. Nothing. Because if, let's say, your husband comes and he says, here you go, this is Carla, and you go, so much, and he's good, and he brings it up and goes, hey, just together, I told you. Right? Okay, so you have to, all this stuff is our secrets. But when you're talking to your husband, you say, I'm so fascinated by everything you say, but I sometimes feel like I don't get to be able to share some of my things. Can we put a timer on a book, and then this is a big thing from by me, you put the problem in his hands, and let him solve it. And then love to solve problems. Any of the problems you're having, you think, oh, I've got to solve it. When you talk to my sister, my grandma, whatever, give it to your husband and say, what do you think we should do? How do you think we should do it? And he'll say, let's do a timer. Or let's how about Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays? I talk to Tuesdays. Okay, fine. Okay, let's do the raffle, guys.